Hello, wonderful humans, and welcome to the Tabletop Express, specifically Creators Corner. My name is Anthony, and tonight I am joined by not one, but two game designers. Welcome to Nate and Jake Jenne from Last Night Games. Gentlemen, welcome aboard the Tabletop Express. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
We're excited to talk a little bit about your catalog of games and your design process and your brotherly love and all that good stuff. But before we get into any of the games that you two have designed yourself, the first thing that our head conductor Chris insists that we ask our guests is to know about your sort of board game origin story. Right? How did you fall down this rabbit hole that so many of us seem to find our way in? And did you do it together, or did one of you sort of pull the other one in after you? How did that start way back when?
You gotta take it, eh?
Yeah, so I think we started at a pretty young age. Honestly, our family always had board games kind of around the house. We had some of the older ones, the classics, I guess. We had Monopoly, we had Scrabble, we had this obscure one called Careers, which was an
Oh yeah,
interesting
oh yeah.
one to play. And we just had a variety of different games. I guess my parents were into that. We had, just over the years got things like Jenga. We always, Uno was pretty common. Jake and I, however, we're about 3 years apart from each other, and we always, we're stuck playing together because we grew up before a lot of video games and
Yeah.
certainly before cell phones. So we ended up just being creative in a lot of ways. Um, we've always done like crazy made up games. We had one that we called indoor baseball that we played in our room with a rolled up towel and rolled up socks, and we just smacked the socks around the room and dove on our bed.
Love it.
Full rules will be posted later.
There you go. Yeah, yeah. Kickstarter. Coming soon to Kickstarter. Yeah, so that's great. So you guys, it's awesome that you grew up with a, sort of a gaming family. I think a lot of folks are in that position now, and I think and I hope that there is this sort of cyclical thing that's coming back around to more of a tabletop presence, despite all the technology and obviously screens and stuff that are dominating our lives and our children's lives. But I do think there's obviously tremendous value to sitting around a table without that kind of distraction and just fiddling with some pieces and using your brain powers and all that. So that's fantastic. So how did the transition then come to designing games? So obviously you've had this sort of creative, you know, mojo going between the two of you from a young age. When did it sort of take that next step to, I guess making an actual prototype that people play tested? How did that work? And when did that happen?
Yeah, well, I think we have a bit of a disagreement on when that started.
Ah, all right. Love good controversy. Let's hit it.
So I like to think it started. So we were both in college, and we actually lived near each other in some apartments, and we made a lawn game. But we were interested in making a lawn game with a little more strategy, and so we kind of created that, worked on it. We actually pitched it to Sportscraft, I think, and got rejected from them, as one would expect. Um, but then there was kind of a hiatus there. I lived in California for several years, and we would correspond, email and messages, but we would always be talking about ideas and games. And then when I moved back into state where Jake lives, we kind of sat down and decided, like, let's really focus on making a game. And we made a game that we enjoy. And we actually tried to kickstart it. We failed miserably because we had no idea what we were doing. This was several years ago, before we wholeheartedly went into Last Night Games. Yeah, and since that first game, we liked it. We played it with the people. We took it to our local convention, to the Prototype Alley. Got a lot of feedback on it. People either loved it or hated it. And from there, we kind of like, we learned from that. And I think we just like started rolling on to the next design. And as life is busy, we kind of were really slow about it. and we just started slowly working on more and more games, and we'd kind of finish up one, get it to like a game crafter or print and play kind of state, and then we'd kind of move on to some other next game, and from there we just have continued working on ideas. I feel like we have so many in the pipeline right now.
I'm sure. So what was that first game?
That game was called En Route.
Okay.
Wasn't ever published,
It wasn't ever published.
but
Yeah.
It's still there though, right? It's still in the back of the brain
Oh, yeah.
file.
Oh yeah, it's on a shelf. It's you know, we've got a couple Game Crafter printed copies of it, and
Okay.
it's a fun one to play. It's a I don't know, maybe not the most discoverable type of gameplay.
Right, sure.
right. A little unique. So
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because a comment here from Chris kind of goes along with what we're talking about. The process of creating a game is one that he always has admired, regardless of the end result. And that's there's a lot of value to that, right? Because for all the games that come out, and boy, golly, are there a lot of them. There are, geez, how many more that don't, right? That are in that sort of limbo realm, or this sort of backspace of everybody's creative mind and stuff like that. But I got to ask, do you think that, and obviously I'm sure you've play tested and thrown ideas off with other designers as well. So do you think there's some merit to the fact that you guys are a team, and even more than that, obviously you're brothers. So do you think there were points in any design process, whether it was a game that made it to, full publication or not, was there ever a time when one of you really kind of had to lift the other one back up and say, we can still do this, or vice versa? Stop pushing this idea. It's not going to happen.
Well, I think there's a couple things. Like on one side of it, I think I've been disheartened more frequently than Jake has been disheartened.
Okay.
And he's kind of had to lift me up on multiple occasions, be like, Nate, we got to do this. We got to keep going. And so I feel like he pushes me forward as a whole. Now, as far as individual games, I think with individual games, having a co-designer, I really like it. I don't even know if I could make a game by myself. I feel like we were able to do a fairly fast process of developing a game because we're brothers, we can start down a path and we'll turn to each other and we'll be like, that's crap. and it's maybe it's taken a little better, I think, right? That we can shoot each other's ideas down. One of the things I think both of us do is we either play devil's advocate or we contradict whatever idea the other is having, pretty much constantly, like siblings would. But I do think that helps us hone in on some of the ideas and things that we're working on, and it maybe helps us fail faster, I think.
Sure. Yeah, and that's that's part of the process, right? You mentioned the Kickstarter thing, and I've interviewed a couple of other designers who have tried to get their game published through crowdfunding and crashed and burned, and there's so many lessons to be learned from that, right? So resilience is key. Obviously, I think that's a message that we want to make sure is out there. I do want to say I admire your whole catalog of games, right? Because I feel like they all scratch a nice mid-family weight entry level kind of an itch that me personally is a genre that, or a category that I really do enjoy. One, because of just ease of play, right? I can get it played pretty quickly. I can teach it pretty quickly. And, in a world where there are so many games that come out every year, for someone who is new to the hobby or maybe is just trying to scratch the surface, it's sometimes hard to decide where to start with them, right? Even if you are kind of helping them, but if they're jumping in by themselves, forget about it. They don't know where to start. And with games like yours, I think they're all excellent, sort of jumping off points for the genre and to learn some different mechanics and things like that. So if you guys don't mind, I'd like to actually pull up your website and take a look at briefly all the games in the catalog. I will say that at PAX Unplugged, I did see, I think Galaxy Rush was out, Finest Fish was out, and I think there was a third game that was out on display, but I don't remember which one it was.
Yeah, we tried to jam them all out there.
Yeah.
We had all four of those that are on the screen now.
Okay.
Not with a ton of real estate, I think.
Sure.
But yeah, horticulture was probably in one corner. That's a flipping right, so it takes up probably the least amount of space.
And which one of these games is the first one that got published?
So Life of a Chameleon is the first one we published.
Okay.
It's not quite been. It's just been actually just over 2 years, right? Like December 2021, we released that.
Wow, that's not a long time. You guys packed a lot of games into a pretty short amount of time.
Listen, we're doing what we can over here.
Full steam ahead.
There you go. And look, I mean, you can't argue with this quote, right? I like this one. I mean, that's solid. Coming from Tom Vassell, that's pretty solid. Quickly, what's the premise of Life of a Chameleon?
You want me to take this one?
Sure, go ahead.
So I came to Nate with this one actually, and the whole idea was, what if everyone has their color that they like to play? I play blue, I play purple, whatever. We thought, what if we could bring a game in where you change your color throughout the game? Because that would just mess everybody's minds, right? And so we thought, naturally, the first thing that came to mind that changes color is a chameleon. So we figured you'd have these little chameleon meeples, which you see on the screen there.
Oh, look at those guys.
And you'd rampage around a little board eating insects, which are represented by these wood cubes. But you can only eat them if they match your color. So there's some current constraint in there, as if you're sneaking up on them or something. And then it kind of came together really quick. There's just a tiny little board. It's an action-based kind of a game. There's several actions you can choose from. You mix and match, choose a few actions on your turn. From moving your chameleon, moving snakes that block your path, rolling to add more bugs onto the board, things like that. Changing your color is one of the actions you can choose on your turn. So that you can complete objective cards. There's sort of cards that say, eat these bugs in this order, these colors in this order, kind of a thing. And then there's a little bit of a surprise ending element. Every time you complete a card, you kind of roll a die and the counter counts down until the end of the game. So it kind of abruptly ends. It's very colorful, playful, but it ends up being quite strategic in the end, which is why, as you saw, it earned the Mensa Select award that year after it came out. It's a little,
for sure. No, I love the concept of that, right? Because that is, when you sit down to play a game, it is inevitably the first thing or first question that's usually asked, right? It's what color do you want to be? Right. And you don't really get to commit to that with Life of a Chameleon. So that's pretty interesting. I like that. What came next down the pike?
The Finest Fish was the next one we published.
Nice.
Yeah, so that one, I actually have a little designer diary that's getting published here on this one. We decided on this one, again, I feel like Jake comes up with the initial ideas for all the games.
But they're terrible, and Nate has to fix them, right? So, to be clear.
So Jake had this idea of a tile placement game, but he was really interested in the idea that the tiles weren't just rectangles or squares. And he was really into the idea that there could be some kind of maybe a tessellating pattern or something. And so we actually initially started working on this game and prototyping it as if these were peacock feathers.
Okay.
It's true.
A little surprise. We worked on it quite a while as that. In fact, got most of the fundamentals of the game down as that form. But it just didn't sit right with us. We didn't feel like maybe it was quite as approachable as we wanted it to be. And it wasn't giving us a natural bounding to the end of when you would have a complete set. And I just remember thinking about it, looking at the shapes. We had these tiles that were a little more elongated than the scales, but it occurred to me that they looked a lot like scales. So I mocked up scale shapes and started playing around with them, and came to Jake and said, "What about fish?" So this is a pretty easy to learn game. Really, you just on your turn, we put out groups of scales, we draft from them, and you place them onto your fish. You're going to get points by creating groups of the same color, by meeting little pattern cards that you can purchase throughout the game, and by placing those black scales. And across those 3 ways of scoring, you end up with points. And it's pretty easy, pretty fun one. There's 4 different fish boards in there that.
There are 4 different fish boards, and might I add, they are not only just 4 different color schemes, but they are different shaped fish as well. There are slight variants to the fish bodies in terms of the fins and the tail and that. And I love that kind of, small added detail.
Yeah,
This was the game that literally caught my eye at PAX Unplugged when I was walking by your table and just saw that, and I just kept staring at it. I was like, this is so cool. You're right. Yeah. There are a lot of tile placing games, and they're almost always squares or hexes, or some combination of those like triple hex things that are attached. And this is a cool idea. I love it.
Yeah. We really went for like an aesthetic here. We wanted it to not be like Chameleon was like such vivid, bright colors, and we were like, let's make a more calming, pleasant palette here. And
it is very calming. It's very chill, and again, it's very easy to teach. I taught this to a relatively new gamer, and she picked it up right away. I mean, the pattern cards are pretty self-explanatory. There's nothing crazy complicated there, right? Yeah. And you're just trying to build the finest fish. Love it. And I will use this as an opportunity to bring up the fact that tomorrow night, right here on the channel, on the Tabletop Express, at 9:00 Eastern Standard Time, again, we will be playing live the finest fish. So tune in again tomorrow to see who will craft the finest fish of them all.
Awesome.
Excited for that.
Yeah.
All right. So who came next?
Well, kind of a toss-up. Galaxy Rush and Horticulture, we kind of developed at the exact same time.
Okay.
We released them on the same day, so they came together.
Oh, very cool.
I think we started work on Galaxy Rush first, though.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And this, we were really in love with the idea of a 2-player only game. There's some games out there that are 2-player only. And so we thought that it would be fun to work under that constraint of making just a 2-player game. And
I've got to interject here, actually, that a lot of what we do, a lot of the creative process that we follow is guided by putting self-imposed constraints, right?
Sure.
So we thought, it has to be a 2-player game. It has to be cards pretty much only. And we just, for whatever reason, we felt like this is going to fill a specific need in our catalog. So that was the constraint. And we just had to start going from there. And we originally thought about a really old card game, Millborn, right? Super old racing card game. And
this is nothing like that game.
And then, so we were like, let's make a game like that where you're racing down this track. And we started out with cars and go-karts and all kinds of different thematic things, and ended up with something that's nothing like Nate said. So the way that this one did end up, though, to tell you a little bit about it, it is an engine building, card drafting kind of a game. There's some set collection in there and even some prediction. So we hit like all the major mechanics all in one little go. Still plays in 20, 30 minutes tops with the 2 players. The basic idea is there's 2 rows of cards down on the table. Each player takes turns choosing from the 2 rows which of the cards they want, and you kind of make your way down this trail drafting 1 card at a time through the trail. And as you do that, you collect resources so you can build an engine, so you can make discoveries, which of those planets you're seeing at the top. You can also collect sets of things. And between each round of drafting, you make predictions on who will do the most of this or the least of that or whatever, which is an interesting little layer on top of the game that steers some of your choices throughout the rest of the game for better or for worse. So it's a lot of fun. It's super quick. A lot of people compare it to Splendor, if you're familiar with that, just because of the engine building sort of aspect in it.
Yeah, no, this definitely checks off a lot of boxes for me personally. The 2-player only and the nice, sort of quick time period that it takes place on, and a little bit of drafting and set collection. That's all, all the time. So this one is piquing my interest for sure. Any expansions on any of these games so far, by the way?
not,
No.
not on these ones. No,
Okay.
we've been just plowing forward with new games, I guess.
Yeah.
So listen, nothing wrong with that. And then we're going to go into another theme that I absolutely love. I love games about planting things and fruits and vegetables and plants like that. Horticulture. I mean, how adorable is this little gnome here?
Oh
Fantastic. And this one is going to play up to 10 players, right? So this is your big
it's
player
a 10
count game.
plus players.
10 plus.
You can play more than 10.
I'm surprised you didn't go for the 1 to 99.
Up to 99.
So if
We
you have that
debated
100th person, they're just out of luck.
We debated whether we should say 1 to 99, but in the end we were like, we're going to put 10 pencils in the box, so let's say 1 to 10 plus.
There you go.
Then you know if you got 10 people, you got everything you need to play.
That's
Yeah,
perfect. And I love a good flip and right. So again, this is checking off a lot of boxes for me. So what do you actually do in horticulture?
Super easy. Whoever's turn it is flips over 2 cards, and each of those cards has 2 plants, different plants on it. And you will pick one of those, and then everyone simultaneously has to put those 2 plants into their garden. And everybody's working the plants into their garden in specific ways to either do specific group sizes or to meet personal objectives.
Okay.
So a couple things that are interesting about this game is you get to pick your own bonus structure at the beginning of the game. So you get to pick plants that are going to score along the edge, along the path, and a companion set that will score next to each other. Also, the group collaboratively works together at the very beginning to draw a path through the center of the garden. So you got to start at the top, you got to end at the bottom. We just go around until that path hits the bottom. The path breaks up adjacency of the groups and kind of gets in your way. We just go through the game. There is a little garden gnome that everybody gets to place anywhere in their garden at the first of the game. And that garden gnome will score bonus points based on the groups, complete groups it's adjacent to. So pretty quick play, easy to learn, like you're saying.
Yeah, no, it sounds like that's your sweet spot. And I think that is part of the reason why you're able to consistently come out with these types of games, right? Like, you've got your sort of feel and your sweet spot, and then Nate, to your point, you just add one little variable or one little constriction to it, and that's how you sort of funnel in the idea. So with that, as a general sort of question, obviously you mentioned that sometimes things don't go the way that they originally had started to go. Is there any game that had like the most major turning point where it just totally flipped on its head during the design process? Or did most things stay pretty true to the initial concept?
We've had a lot of thematic shifts, right?
So more thematic than mechanics of the game.
Yeah, mechanics, not usually. I mean, the core thing is
we just spin it off and make another game.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it would be, I would speculate that it would be easier to sort of pivot theme as opposed to mechanics, right? Because you're not really redesigning the concept of the gameplay. You're just sort of changing some vocabulary and some aesthetics and things like that.
Right. It's just surprising how much the theme matters to us as we're working on the game. We were talking about a game concept the other day that was just sounding super boring and dry. And then we're like, but what if it was about fishermen? And we're like, what about if these fishermen were actually otters? Little otters walking around with fishing poles. Now, that's perfect. Come on. And all of a sudden, a game that was kind of seeming humdrum, a little bit, was just like, wow, okay, no, this is something that I could all of a sudden really want to be interested in, and the creativity starts to flow. So just making a little tweak to the theme, going from peacocks that are a little regal and stale, I guess, to goldfish, which apparently everyone on Earth loves. I didn't realize that.
Well, that's a thing, right? I mean, you look at the box cover. That's everyone can relate to that. Everyone has had that bowl that either they, won from throwing a ping pong ball and so you'd have to fix, or somebody
Right.
had an extra and they brought it home, and
Yeah.
they don't always last, but that's why the game comes with 4 different fish. So I want to bring in Tyler's comment quickly here because and Tyler's a great member of our Discord and our community, by the way. He's always chiming in with stuff. He said, I've definitely come around to these types of lighter and quicker games to counter the heavy Euros that he does play a lot of the time. And it's good to have a little bit of a palate cleanser every now and then, right? When you're kind of used to some long, heavy stuff. And the same is true for the other way around. I generally gravitate towards these light to medium weight games, but every once in a while I feel like, all right, teach me something kind of hefty. I think I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
Get a game.
So let's take a look at Panda Royale. So now this is your newest game, sort of, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, this one, the backers for this game just got their copies like this week.
Oh, how exciting. Awesome. So are you getting some pictures of it, of people playing it out in the wild and stuff?
Yeah, we're starting to get the comments trickling in and stuff. So it's really exciting.
Awesome. I mean, and again, I hate to be a broken record here, but there's something about every one of these games that I just love. And the fact that this game just comes with, is it 100 dice? Is that correct?
There's 106 dice in the game.
106 dice. And they're not all D6s either.
No, there's D6s, D8s, D12s,
even some
and
D20s.
D20s.
So this is sort of the dice drafting, knock out your opponents kind of game, right? What are you trying to do in this game? Be the last panda standing?
Yeah, so in this game, everyone gets to stay in for 10 rounds. So we all start with 1 die. And we start with this yellow die. And the yellow die is interesting because it determines the drafting order for the next round. So everyone rolls their yellow die, and then based on the order, everyone picks a new die. So we'll just pull out as many dice as there are players, plus 1, and everyone will go around in draft order, pick them all up, and then we roll again. And we're adding up our scores on each line. Each of the different colors of dice have different properties. So like I said, the yellow ones dictate the drafting order. The clear ones let you trade or steal dice from someone. The green ones are just the biggest ones. They're D20s. They get you points. The purple ones always double in value. The blue ones add up, but maybe double in value. They're most plentiful in the bag, but you have to get the special glitter blue die. And yeah, as you play this, we actually had an opportunity a couple weeks ago at Gamma Expo to demo this game to a bunch of retailers, and it was they loved it. Not to toot my own horn,
that's great to hear.
We had a full table.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's not like rolling dice is a new thing or anything, right? But there are really not that many games that you're going to get these multiple sided dice in one game that's not like a dungeon crawler or a role playing game, right? And so that, to me, that's exciting. I've been fortunate enough to play the Dice Towers copy of Tumbling Dice, and they have plenty of these, which, as you can imagine, adds to some crazy math going on, but it really just adds to the fun of not just the same, sort of value over and over again. And the fact that some of them do different things, and you have your character has special abilities as well in this game, or is everybody square off even?
No, the dice represent the different clans.
Okay, gotcha.
You're assembling a team from mixing, matching all the clans together. So
cool. Well, that's awesome. I'm excited for you that this started to get to backers, and hopefully we'll keep hearing more of it. Now, I've been on the website pretty a lot of times in the last few weeks, and just today when I went back on, I noticed something a little bit different that I didn't see before, which is coming up soon from Alpine Trails. Sorry, from Alpine Trails. From you guys, Alpine Trails. You already got me on the name and the graphics, so it almost doesn't matter what you do in this game. I'm probably going to like it. But what can you tell us so far about this?
Can I tell him?
Yeah, go
So,
ahead.
all right. So as any designer knows, the current game you're working on is the best game ever, right?
Right.
So this is the most recently. We were dabbling in other things too, but this is the most recently completed game. It's going to be coming to Kickstarter very soon, actually, just a couple of weeks, and it's a path building game actually. So there's over 200 tiles in the box. And you're building your own national forest, basically, is the idea. And so you have kind of a base camp tile, and you'll be adding paths to it in a very unique way. There's no constraint to the size or width or anything of your little forest. You can build in any direction or size you want, but there's so much balance in it. You'll score points for building the longest trail. Each trail has like its mileage on it. You'll get bonuses for creating loops to kind of circle back and create a looped trail. You can put campgrounds so long as they're a certain distance apart. You can choose to do that. There's even some little animal meeples that go in the different habitats that go on there. Layered on top of all the path building, there's the concept, which is familiar to most people, of habitats, right? There's 4 different terrain types, and you'll score points for keeping those together. And the whole game is kind of a puzzle to try to figure out whether you can keep the habitats together and the paths going the way you want all at the same time. In the end, you end up with a very unique trail system. Every trail has a lake at the end of it. It's beautiful. It's complete. There's nothing left undone. I love it. It's really, really cool. Cool table presence, and plays really quick. You can learn it and play it inside an hour, right? So it's a lot of fun.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
This one's also special to us because we live in the high mountains. So we live in Utah. We do a lot of hiking, and we wanted to capture some of that high mountain theme.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to ask, now that this is the last game on the docket here, but I was going to ask where, some of the inspiration comes for some of these ideas. So obviously this is something that is a separate hobby of yours, being out in nature and hiking and things like that. Are there any other, without giving too much away, are there any other sort of, interest or hobbies that you have that you could see yourself potentially trying to make a game out of?
I don't know. That's a good
Like
question.
laser cutting meeples, the board game.
The game of laser prototyping games.
You never know.
I think most of our games tends to come from the interest in something that's not real, right? The fiction, the fantasy, the creativity. It seems like we really tend to include animals in about everything we do. So, because there's something cool about personifying animals a little bit, something just unique, something you don't get to do every day. And I think more of our inspiration comes from wishful thinking or creative storytelling or whatever than our real life interests, I think.
And so does that also reflect the types of games that you're interested in? Do you tend to basically choose theme over mechanics? Is that a fair statement when you like kind of a blanket theme, or does it really depend on the game?
For me, I would say theme kind of sets the boundaries of what what I'm interested in.
Right.
And from that boundary, then the mechanics, dictate what I'll pick, if that makes sense, right? So
yeah, no, of course. That's
we
see things first, and that's how we get interested or not in something. And then as we dive a little more deeper into it, we kind of say, maybe not, or that's kind of a waste. I've certainly seen some games that I was excited about the theme and then sat down. I was like, oh, it's this kind of game. But
hopefully we're not doing that.
yeah, no, but this sounds again right up my alley. It's giving me Cascadia feels a little bit, which is currently pretty much my favorite game. So very excited about Alpine Trails, and we will definitely keep an eye out for that. Is there anything else on the back burner that you guys have going on, either together or separately, that you might give us some insight into?
So many things.
So many things. Well, you don't have to, we don't need any
Well,
breaking news here or anything
I
like
will
that.
say I've been working on a small collab with another designer. Not to leave Jake out, but
It's cheating on me, but
we've got a
So
friend that
that'll
we're
be the
working.
first game without him.
There's but yeah, as far as games that we're working on, we got something to do with we got something in the back burner to do with dragons and apartments. And I don't think I can say anything more than that.
All right.
Good landlord.
Chris adding
Yeah.
there, just getting back to the lighter games genre. They do get more plays for sure. You know, I mean, most of that is because they are shorter, right? So you can certainly
Yeah.
do that. But sometimes I need a lighter game. They can get more of them in usually. Yep, I agree. And you know, it's not only is it less time consuming, but it's sort of less strain on the brain, right? Too. It's
What's next?
you can play back-to-back games of a lot of these games, or play 2 or 3 of them, you know, one right after the other, things like that. What about when it comes to the artwork for these things? How did you come to terms with how art was going to look? Is that something that you guys did on your own and then sort of went out and found someone who could kind of bring it to life, or did you have someone already lined up?
So, first of all, we're very much of the opinion, like I think you were alluding to this before, but we're very much of the opinion that the art style should reflect the kind of type of game it is. Like I find that there's more intricate, more beautiful art on some of these heavier games. And then, you know, more playful art. And then like all the way down to Uno, which is like, oh, this is going to be dead simple, right?
Right.
So that sets the stage. So actually only one of our games we've had an artist other than ourselves illustrate. So Horticulture, we had an artist. She's amazing. Obviously the cute gnome and things. She illustrated that for us. The other ones, we've been doing the art ourselves.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think the reason, and I don't think we will always do it ourselves necessarily. We're trying to find the right balance. But as Nate pointed out, the idea is that we need to convey what we need to convey on our box game, our box tops, is not the same as what a heavy Euro needs to convey, right?
Sure.
And it can afford to be a little simpler, right? And so that's kind of the art style that we've gone for. And yeah, we've done kind of a mix and match of mostly stuff that we designed, but we've pulled in an independent artist.
Love it.
A couple times, I guess, actually, but
Yeah.
Well, I know you don't have a lot of free time with all the stuff that you have going on with designing games, but when you do get to play games, what are some of your favorites that you try to get to the table?
Do you want to go first?
Oh yeah, there's so many. Mostly what I get to put on the table is whatever my wife is willing to play with me. So we'll set it right there. And that happens to be the category of games that we're designing, right? And it all works together really nice. So she really loves the Welcome series. Welcome to Las Vegas. We've been playing a lot recently. Or just the original one, which was it? The official title, is it Welcome to your new home? I don't know.
Welcome to, yes, I don't. They get a little weird. Even the expansions are like, welcome to your thematic neighborhood.
Welcome to the. Yeah, we play that one a ton. Cascadia has been hitting the table. We love Everdell and Wingspan, and Mycelia from Ravensburger just recently has been popular at our house. So I like to get a little bit heavier game on the table every once in a while, but that doesn't happen nearly as often given, you know, my kids and wife and their interests. So those are some of the ones for me. I think it's similar for you, but not quite the same games.
Yeah. Recently, I've been playing with my wife Sagrada Artisans, which is legacy style game. So it's just me and her. She really was into that one. And so we've been playing. We're not quite through yet, but it's been a lot of fun. Another one we played a bit recently is Blueprints of Mad King Ludwig. That's really interesting, where you get to like have that kind of vellum paper and draw your little castles going out. That's a lot of fun. we got into a little spurt of like playing Kabuto Sumo with my kids. They really got into that one, you know, knocking each other off the board and such.
Yeah.
We just, I feel like there's like kind of a scattering of games we play. Like Skull King we've played recently. Skyjo comes out a lot. That one's because it's just so simple.
Do you guys have a game that you like to play, just the two of you?
Whatever we're prototyping.
Yeah. Let's just find it out.
We don't play a ton. I mean, but we do like playing new games. We do try to play a lot of new games. I get really intrigued by like new mechanics and things.
It's tough. It's tough. There's just so much out there to enjoy, and you know, you can't play them all, no matter who you are.
Yeah. Wolves was one of the most recent ones.
Oh, that was a lot.
Panda Source that we played together.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I really loved, and Oros from Brant.
Oros is really interesting. If you haven't tried that one, that's a really fun game.
Yeah. Those are the kinds of games we play if we ever get to play something that we're not making.
You're not working on. Right.
Yeah.
By the way, I did want to ask, what's the origin behind the name of Last Night Game?
That's a great question. So back many years ago, even before we made En Route, or while we were making En Route, we decided that we didn't want to be a one game shop, right? We wanted to make many games, so we didn't want to name it after a particular game. We wanted obviously a unique name, a simple name to kind of convey that we're, you know, simple games,
lighter games. Yeah.
And honestly, here's what was going down. We would both in our own homes get our kids in bed and then tell our wives we're going to go work on games. So we would meet up at nighttime, and it seemed like frequently, you know, we'd get home after our wives were in bed, and we'd wake up the next morning, and our wives would be like, "How was gaming last night?" And like, this became more and more of a thing. And when we were talking about it, I was like, "Last night games," because that's what we were working on last night.
I love it. Yeah.
Kind of lame, but that's it.
I don't think so at all.
I know it goes.
I mean, listen, it's better than some of these other names where you're like, how did they get that name? Like, it doesn't even make any sense, right? I mean, Tyler, excuse me, has a good question here. He's asking, as designers, when you play those new types of games, does it spark ideas? Does it give you an extra edge or an extra new idea to a game that you might be working on? And I'll even piggyback and say, has it ever happened, the fact where you sit down and play a game and you're like, oh man, this is almost exactly like so-and-so that we've been working on. Maybe we should change something.
I don't know about that last part, but absolutely new mechanics, new games. We love playing new. I actually would rather play a new game than a game I've already played a second time, which is contention between me and my wife. She's like, she doesn't want to learn a new game. Let's just play the one I like. I'm like, no, I just want to learn a new one because I want to see a new mechanic and a new thing. But what happened, I will tell you, Horticulture was basically came from cartographers. We love playing cartographers. But we thought there's a lot of people that we play with that just really don't love the spatial awareness and logic of placing polyominoes, and so we thought, let's make a flip and right kind of a game because we love those, but let's make it where you just fill in one cell at a time instead of trying to do the whole spatial awareness thing. So in a very real way, cartographers kind of was the I don't know, idea, catalyst for creating Horticulture. We thought, let's just draw one thing at a time. Maybe you can do multiple things on your turn, but just one square at a time, right? And what could it be? Well, you know, gardens. People love gardens, right? I don't know. And it just went, and we have notebooks just full of us drawing little things as we were just figuring it out in little notebooks for months, and that was that. So yes, learning new games is a huge passion of ours, and every new mechanic just spawns new ideas of things that we can incorporate. So
yeah, that's awesome, because it's interesting that you mentioned that because that certainly can be a challenge for some folks. In fact, the friend of ours who I told you about, who I taught Finest Fish to a couple weeks ago, I'm starting to learn her limits and her interest and things like that. And we this is like maybe a year or two ago. I sat down to try to teach her how to play Railroad Inc. And
Oh.
I didn't get through half the rules when she was like, I can't do this. And I was like, she was like, so apologetic. I was like, I totally get it. I totally get it. So it's so interesting that you say that, right? Because you're taking this thing, this idea, like cartographers, for example, and you're sort of looking at the lens of what is the barrier to some folks with this thing to entry where it might just be a little too much for them. And how do we take that a step back? And it's not a dumbing down thing, right? It's a simplifying thing. It's a compartment thing where once they get used to that stuff, again, like I said before, these are great jumping off points, right? Oh, you know how to do this with horticulture. Here's this other game where, the shapes are going to be all a little bit different and not just one square at a time. And that's fantastic. I don't think enough people do that. I think more designers do the opposite thing, right? How can we take this to the next level and add this and add this and make this more complicated? And there's certainly an audience for that. But I think the other way gets sort of, dismissed or doesn't happen as often, for sure, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah.
This is great, guys. I'm so excited that we had this conversation. We're going to start to wrap up in a minute or two. Before I get to the final thing here, is there anything else that I didn't ask you about that you do want to touch on, either in terms of what you guys are up to or where people can go to find out more about your work, what you're working on? And a great question here from Danny. Any plans for any of your games to be on BGA?
Oh, that's a hard one. We've had a lot of discussions about that. There's BGA, there's Tabletop Simulator, there's a bunch of those online tools. Honestly, it's a lot of work. We're a tiny shop still. It takes a lot of resources, time, and effort, and we've been just pouring our time into designing new games. We kind of like that break. We both kind of come from computer programming backgrounds, and so I think in a way we're kind of burned out of being on a computer.
Okay, yeah.
And so I think just like we just pouring all our time into like game development. I'm not going to say we're never going to do it. I'm just saying,
right,
it's a tall order for us right now.
Yeah.
Right. And there's probably some circumstances where, or occasions, I should say, where a developer might approach you to do that, transition that
Yeah.
to that realm.
Yeah, that's a conversation we could have for sure. But yeah, at this point, it's a little too much for us.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. Hey, keep churning out those tabletop games. That's what we're here for.
That's a good.
Yeah. So anything else? Can anybody you guys find where we can find you at in terms of your social media or things that people should check out? Now's the time. So let us know where we can see all your stuff.
Yeah, we're luckily last night games on pretty much every social media.
It's true.
Just all jammed together. You can obviously visit our website. Like we said, we'll be launching a Kickstarter for Alpine Trails really soon. We're going to put the landing page link up for that on our website here shortly. And we are going to be at Gen Con and PAX Unplugged. Like you met us at PAX Unplugged. We'll be at Origins game show this year. So
awesome.
You can find us there and
busy.
Follow us online. You won't miss the Kickstarter. So
yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that. All right, before we wrap things up here, I generally don't let my guests go until we play a little game ourselves.
Oh boy.
So normally this is a one-on-one thing. It's my first time doing a double here, but that's okay. You can work together on this. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you several images of famous, or I guess at sometimes infamous, brothers, whether throughout history or fiction, or even
this is my weakness, history.
Perhaps in the world. We shall see. So no pressure. There's no score. I mean, I'm going to keep score, but it's not going to get, it's not going to get reported or anything like that. So we're going to start here, and hopefully this works for me. Let me see if I don't mess this up. All right, so we're starting with what could easily be said is the beginning of sibling rivalry that has never really fizzled out. Past now. Any idea who this famous duo may be?
Yeah. Well, that's us. No, you asked me.
That's you. That was you last night, right?
That was last night. Yeah, it's Cain and Abel.
That is, yeah, that's Cain and Abel. You know, I had to start somewhere, and you know, I mean, it's pretty much the start. So there you go. Hey, all right, you got the first one right.
Too familiar of a scene.
Yeah. I think
I'm the younger brother, so
there's a game in there somewhere. There's a game in there somewhere.
yeah.
All right, next up, who are these dapper gentlemen? Any ideas on these two?
So dapper.
They are quite dapper.
I don't know.
You know,
Well, the small hint I'll give you is that I purposely chose this photo as opposed to what most of the other photos include with these two gentlemen, because it would be a little bit of a giveaway.
wait a second. This looks like the Wright brothers.
Yeah, it does.
Was it the mustache?
The bowler hats.
That is the Wright brothers. That is them for sure. Man, you guys are rocking this. 2 for 2. All right, all right. Here we go. Up next, we got these very enthusiastic looking brothers right here. This is a tough one. I'm not gonna lie.
They're having a real disagreement about a game mechanic. No. So the guy is getting such a side eye there. No, your idea is trash. I
Tough one.
No clue.
Any guesses? I will give you a hint.
Well, I will take hints.
Well, let's see. How about Fairy Tale?
Oh, Brothers Grimm?
The Brothers Grimm. That is correct.
Is it? Okay.
That is correct.
Oh.
And they
Well, that's why they're not smiling.
My mind is just wrapped around like Ebenezer Scrooge and Jacob Marley. I don't know.
Yeah, that's that nightcap for sure.
Right?
Totally. I when I did this one, I had to look at a couple of pictures to make sure this was indeed them, because I thought the same exact thing.
All
right.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Brother pair number 4.
Oh. No.
Another one from ye olden days.
Yeah. They feel like criminals to me right here.
They are absolutely. You are on the right track.
But it's not coming to me.
They would definitely fall into the famous / infamous category, I think.
Yeah.
Quite the reputation.
The name's not coming to me. Are you thinking?
I think I got you on this one.
I feel like I should know this one. This one looks so familiar, though.
This is Frank and Jesse James, the James boys.
Oh.
Yeah. Again, no guns in this picture. That probably would have been a dead giveaway. All right, moving on. Now, these two fellas have quite the impact in our current industry and hobby that we love so much.
Yeah, this will be the embarrassing one that we don't get.
Yeah, that will be.
Yeah, pull hints from the.
They are the OG of Board Game Brothers.
I'd like to poll the audience.
Is it the Parker brothers?
It is the Parker brothers. It is indeed.
The hint was
Was
sufficient.
Played, I think they have maybe croquet.
They played long games too.
Yeah, look at them.
Yeah, look at that.
Croquet, is it?
I think so. Yeah. All right. Now to a more modern duo. These are 2 Board Game Brother designers.
Oh, this is the real embarrassment. This is the one.
This is the real embarrassing.
No.
We are ignorant fools, is what we are.
I wouldn't worry too much about it. I mean, if I had them on and showed them you, they probably wouldn't know you either. So it's all right.
Well, that makes sense.
The hint for this is they've got it right in their name.
Right in their name.
It's not.
Although it's not their name that's in their name.
Right. No. See, I'm not. The faces. It's not the. Is it the
That's right.
Brotherwise?
You may have never seen them before.
Is it Brotherwise games?
These are the O'Neill brothers of Brotherwise games.
You just said
It was
Brotherwise.
Brotherwise
You didn't
games.
say it loud enough.
Oh, you said it? All right. It counted.
Well, I was muttering it to Jake.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Was muttering it. And I was like, no, you fool, don't say that. That was right. That was right.
All right. Moving on here. How about these dingbats?
No. I just saw this the other day.
Yeah.
I can't even place it though.
That's all right. They get enough attention. They don't need it anymore.
Just
Nick
saw it
and Mike
yesterday.
Murphy. They're brothers Murph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smurf. Yep. That's it.
We're so.
Jeez.
Oh,
All right.
man.
So now we're moving from the board games into sort of
This looks like musicians right here.
they are musicians.
They've got like
They are indeed
British
musicians.
vibes.
And they have a long history of infighting.
Yeah. Isn't that true for most
Like
famous
the Doobie
musicians?
Brothers.
I mean, not to the extent of Cain and Abel, at least not yet, but
Not that much.
no, not that
Yeah,
much. But they've
I
had their
know.
fair share of issues.
My knowledge of pop culture is really, really bad.
I don't
That's
know.
right. These are the Gallagher brothers of band Oasis.
Yeah.
Oh.
A little overrated in my opinion, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
All right. Last
Right.
two are totally fictional.
Oh, okay.
Uh-oh.
Now,
Well, I might be better at this.
I have a chance.
yeah, two more. Here we go. How about these guys?
Oh no.
Well, wait, that looks. I mean, that definitely looks like Slimer,
Kind of, not
kind
really.
of, but it also looks
So
like
it's not Slimer, but this is indeed from Ghostbusters.
yeah.
From Ghostbusters 2, I should say. And I wish Ryan was in the chat because I sort of put this one in here for him. He's our resident Ghostbuster, so he would jump all over this. This is one of the opening scenes in Ghostbusters 2 where they're on trial,
Right.
and they have the slime there, like the mood slime, and the judge is getting all riled up and mad and stuff, and the slime starts going crazy, and these two guys bust out of the walls, and chairs are flying everywhere, and he's under the desk, and he's like, "Oh my God, it's the Scoleri brothers! I gave them the chair."
That's right. The Scoleri brothers.
So that's the Scoleri brothers from Ghostbusters 2. The final one, just in case we had a rough patch, I put
All right.
the easiest one for last.
Oh dear.
Where you probably don't even have to say what it is, to be honest. But I
It's
just thought,
personal.
this is like a very heartwarming brotherly pair who can do.
Oh, get to me audio.
So now, who's who? And who's the parallel here with Nate and Jake?
Well, I'm kind of shorter and older, so it kind of makes me Mario.
Yeah.
There you
Jake's
go,
like
by default. Yeah,
Yeah.
excellent.
taller.
I guess I carry a vacuum and I'm afraid of ghosts. That's my
Yeah,
shtick.
Tyler, phone a friend with Ryan. Yeah, he would have appreciated that.
Yeah, right? That's what we needed.
Next time, we can do that next time. We get
We
some
needed it with the
brothers.
brothers Murph.
Well, thanks for
Yeah.
playing along with the brotherly game. Nate and Jake, I really do appreciate you both taking out time together to sort of do this at the same time. I know you spend a lot of time together, so to spend even more a little bit outside of hours, I appreciate that. But you guys are probably going to go work on some games as soon as we're off.
Yeah,
of this
probably.
already,
Fact.
thanks so much for stopping by. Folks, be sure to do a couple things. Please like the video if you haven't already. And if you're not subscribed to the Tabletop Express on YouTube yet, please do so. You can also join our Discord. We have a fantastic community that is very involved. And, we talk about all kinds of stuff, not just board games. Super duper supportive and friendly in there. And of course, go check out Last Night Games. Please check out Alpine Trails on Kickstarter. You can get notified when that launches, and we'll be sure to be following along with that as well. And last reminder, come back tomorrow night. 9 o'clock on the Tabletop Express. We will be building some goldfish, and we'll see who creates the finest fish of them all. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
Awesome. Have a great night. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for coming aboard the Tabletop Express, and we'll see you next time. Bye.